Neil Brown and West Virginia had their backs against the wall heading into 2023, and they did a great job of easing some concerns about Brown's future. Now he has to still compete in this new Big 12, and the talent that they have returning, which we'll talk about today, makes them an intriguing team, one team that I think a lot of people expect to compete for a run at a conference title, or at least the conference championship game. I don't know if this is a team that can win a title, but it's a team that will definitely be a tough team to beat. To me, we start with everything with CJ Donaldson Jr. At his peak, CJ Donaldson Jr. is one of the toughest running backs to tackle in college football. 6'2", 238 pounds, a third-team All Big 12 selection according to College Football Network, 798 yards, 11 touchdowns. He is a tough runner, a physical runner, and it's not fun to tackle him. And he's a big reason why they had the fourth best rushing attack in college football. This is a deep rushing attack on top of the quarterback that we'll talk about in a little bit. Donaldson is the leader of that rushing attack. He has good depth around him. He has plenty of talent up front as well as next to him in the backfield. But make no mistake about it, CJ Donaldson is a dude that not enough people are talking about and someone who commands more respect or should command more respect in 2024. Garrett Greene is the biggest X factor to me for West Virginia. If he can play at a high level and elevate his pass game, you are going to see a West Virginia team that takes a step forward. They finished 91st in passing, and a lot of that stems from Garrett Greene's ability to get players the football. He has plenty of options at the receiver position, and he has a good backfield next to him. So there's really no excuses for him to have the completion percentage he did last year. Threw for over 2,400 yards, was smart with the football by only throwing 4 interceptions, threw 16 touchdowns. He averaged 772 yards and 13 touchdowns on the ground. So he is a dual threat that can be a really fun player to watch. I love the energy that he plays the game with. But again, this is about fixing your mistakes and finding a way to elevate your game. Because if this passing attack takes a step forward, you're looking at a team that will be a much better team in 2024. One of my favorite additions in the transfer portal was West Virginia getting Troy transfer TJ Jackson. Now, Jackson did not have the best season in 2023, but he had a big year in 2022. He's a player who is tough as nails, someone who has played through a couple of injuries. And when I say played through, he has succeeded playing with those injuries. He's a disruptive player, maybe not your prototypical size at the defensive tackle position at 6'1", 282 pounds, but he is a disruptive player who can get to the quarterback, who can be disruptive in stopping the ball carrier. And that's going to help a defense that showed some flashes at times, and I think will be a solid group, an underrated group. And if things go well up front, it's because Jackson and that group are making things happen and being disruptive. We talked about that rushing attack earlier. And another big reason why they were so successful is Jaheim White. Donaldson was obviously good. And when he was either injured or needed a break, White picked up and basically just didn't have any drop off. 842 yards, averaged 7.7 yards per carry. So he is someone who's very explosive with the football in his hands. 4 touchdowns, a little bit less involved in the passing attack with only 125 yards and 2 touchdowns compared to some other backs. But he is someone who can be very fun to watch, an explosive player for this West Virginia offense. When we saw Anthony Wilson come from Georgia Southern, we were kind of questioning whether or not he could make that leap. And that was obviously a question that he answered with conviction. He is someone who is proven to be a valuable playmaker for this defense. And again, with the amount of talent they have returning, there's a lot of reasons to be excited about West Virginia football this year. It's very different feeling than we saw from 2023. Anthony Wilson and his defense will be really fun to watch. This secondary could be the strength this year. Again, this is a team that finished 86th against the pass, 48th against the run. And while that front group is still very good, the secondary should take a step forward. Another player that's going to add to that is Jaheim Joseph, a solid year last year and someone who is very capable of turning the ball over, had 3 interceptions in 2023. And this is going to be a fun secondary. Like I said, you have a number of playmakers that are going to step up, and you could probably interchange some of them in these different positions. But West Virginia's defense, to me, is going to be an exciting group, an underrated group, which is probably exactly where they want to be. And when you already talk about Anthony Wilson, and we'll talk about at least one other player later in this video, this is going to be a defense that should be a tough group. One of the players that Garrett Greene will look for downfield is Hudson Clement, an underrated player who only had 22 catches last year, but turned that into 21.8 yards per catch for a total of 480 yards. An explosive weapon who is probably going to get talked about a little bit more. West Virginia has playmakers, so it's not that they're lacking in terms of talent, because Garrett Greene is a solid player who can elevate his game. And if he does that, you're looking at a team that's going to be much more difficult to stop, especially offensively, because you have guys like Hudson Clement. Traylon Ray is an underrated player. They added Jaden Bray from the transfer portal. Preston Fox is another option. Tight end Cole Taylor could be in the mix as well. So you have plenty of options. You have plenty of depth. It just comes down to, can you be consistent? Safety Aubrey Burks probably could be higher on this list. I don't have no arguments against that. Aubrey Burks is a multi-year starter who's been very efficient and a good leader for this defense. He comes back after a solid season, 47 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, 2 interceptions. Someone who does a little bit of everything for this defense, has done that for multiple years, and this staff expects big things from him in 2024. Linebacker Ben Cutter is an underrated player in the Big 12, 56 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 2 sacks. Someone who is a solid linebacker for this front seven, for this front group, and someone who probably won't have a breakout year statistically, mostly because this group has so many playmakers. So it's going to be tough for players to stand out, but he is going to be solid for a defense that, again, expects to take a step forward and be a much more consistent group. An underrated player added in the transfer portal was linebacker Ty French. At a monster year after joining West Virginia, they're expecting big things from him. They're maybe not expecting the level of production that you saw for him last year, but he is someone who's proven to be a playmaker. And if you can get him to do those same things for West Virginia, you're going to get the ball back to this offense that should be explosive. You're going to get your defense off the field, and you're going to have a new playmaker that a lot of people wish they would have added in the transfer portal. West Virginia should be a fun team to watch this year. Maybe make a run at that Big 12 championship. That's going to be tough with how deep this conference is. But this is a team that definitely has people's attention and definitely has the respect of the conference. It's just a matter of, can you be consistent? Can you fix certain things that need to be fixed? And can you take your game to the next level?